I went live for 26 hours when the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. So guess what? When they name a brand new head coach, I'm going to be going live for that one as well. Not 26 hours long, but as soon as the Raiders announce a head coach, I'm going live. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you got those notifications turned on because it's going to be a hell of a ride. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. Coming up on today's show, Jim Harbaugh is interested in coaching the Las Vegas Raiders, according to a report. So we'll dive into the report that is around Michigan head coach Harbaugh potentially joining the Silver and Black. But this was a message that we talked about 2 years ago. And my message to every single person that comes across this video is this. If this is what you want to see, you want to see Jim Harbaugh as the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders, I want you to click that like button right now because Harbaugh was linked to the Silver and Black before. He's got a bunch of ties going all the way back to Al Davis, Mark Davis. We'll talk about all of that. But he's also in the news right now for, let's be honest, maybe some not such great things. If you don't know what's going on right now with Michigan, or if you don't know the latest going on around Jim Harbaugh, Harbaugh accepted a 3-game suspension on Thursday, and now he's not going to be able to be coaching against Ohio State. By the end of this year, Harbaugh will have served 2 3-game suspensions, and I don't follow college football all that closely. I really only watch it for players and coaches, if I'm being honest, that I think could potentially impact the Las Vegas Raiders, and I've been watching a lot of quarterback play this year. But to me, because we have a Michigan show here and our boss runs our Michigan show, I mean, he's saying, like, it just kind of seems right now that the NCAA is just after Harbaugh. And if you're Harbaugh, you're like, man, I don't know what I can do at this point. Maybe it's just time for me to go, and I could potentially go back to the NFL. So when you see all that kind of stuff, it's like, all right, I can understand some frustration from Harbaugh's standpoint, which now is leading to a lot of these new reports out there that Harbaugh could potentially be going back to the NFL because, according to The Athletic, Harbaugh is interested in a return to the NFL. And according to that report, Harbaugh has been linked to several NFL jobs, which we've seen. But he's also going to be one of the top head coaching candidates that's available. If you're looking for an offensive, a defensive-minded coach, somebody who offers you both sides of the football, I do think that Harbaugh has that ability. He was a player. He was a coach. He's been successful at the NFL, college football level. But according to The Athletic, the 2 teams that Harbaugh is showing the most interest in, if he rejoins the NFL, it is the Las Vegas Raiders, where he started his coaching career at in the NFL, and then it's the Chicago Bears, a team that he played quarterback for. So I don't know what team maybe offers him the best shot as it stands right now. You have to make an argument. If the Bears have the number 1 overall pick and they have a shot to get a quarterback, if I'm Harbaugh, that's probably going to be the route that I end up going. However, I don't care about the Bears. I care about the Silver and Black, and I love the guy that's right now the Raiders' interim head coach. Hell, there's been reports out there that Mark Davis might take away interim from Antonio Pierce's title because that's how much respect he has earned. But here's the big-time question because, yeah, I could say all the stuff I want about Antonio Pierce, me wanting to run through a wall, but at the very, very end of the day, you want the guy that's the best head coach for your team, do you not? Well, guess what? This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show, and I want to know from the nation, AP or JH, who is the better head coach? This show is built on the backs of the nation. I see Steel Cage Savage, who's watching this live. I like Harbaugh, but give Pierce a chance. And I could not agree with Steel Cage Savage more. If I were to look at a coaching resume, the answer is Jim Harbaugh. But if this team rallies behind Antonio Pierce, to me, this is Antonio Pierce's job to lose. It's not Jim Harbaugh's to win. It is Antonio Pierce's to lose. And if he rallies this team, and he can get this team, which looked completely lost underneath Josh McDaniels, and they can make a legit playoff run, after passing on Rich Bisaccia, man, I do not know how. You look at every single person that is a part of the nation and you go, we're going to go in a different direction. Because right now when you look at the remaining schedule, you got a 6-3 Dolphins team, a 7-2 Chiefs team, not easy. 6-4 Vikings team. Your next 3 games are tough. Week 15, then Chargers. Then you got the Chiefs. Your next 5 games, very tough. Week 17 against the Colts at 5-5, and then the Broncos at 4-5. Like, let's face it, there's a lot of good football that is left to be played. And if the Raiders look confident, they look competent, and they have a legit playoff run with that schedule, it's Antonio Pierce's job. I will stand up here time and time again, and that's what I'm going to say. The resume, yes, Harbaugh's better. But you know what? I bet you McDaniel's resume was better than Bisaccia's. And sometimes just because you got a great resume doesn't mean you're the right man for the job. Coming up here, though, next on the Raiders Report, why the Raiders could hire Harbaugh. I have 5 reasons to me that they just go around in my head. And if you used to watch this show all the way back in, right before the Raiders hired McDaniels back in 2022, I'm going to bring some of those old ones up again because the number one guy that I thought they were going to go with was, in fact, Jim Harbaugh. But you know what? Instead, we decided to go with the clown show that is Josh McDaniels. But here's the thing. If anybody wants to go to a clown show in Las Vegas, you can do so. Luckily, the clown show is not hosted at Allegiant Stadium anymore. But if you are trying to go out to Vegas and you are trying to go to a Raiders game, there is one place to go and one place only, and that is Game Time. So Raider Nation, download the Game Time app where you can get $20 off with code Raiders Chat. That link is going to be available to you guys down in the comments and in the description of today's show. Forget planning months in advance. Game Time has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy theater, and a whole lot more. It is the perfect app for buying tickets when you're planning on visiting Las Vegas. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code RaidersChat for $20 off your first purchase. And honestly, one of my favorite things that Game Time has is they have the all-in price. And once you go all-in price, you won't go back. Mitch, what are you talking about? When you're on the Game Time app, if you click all-in price, it tells you like how much it would be after they add in like the taxes and the fees and all that kind of stuff. Because a lot of other places, it'll be like, oh, this ticket's $120. And you're like, oh, shit, that's a great deal. Click buy now. And then buy at checkout, it's $235. You just feel like you get ripped off. With Game Time, it's not that feeling. It's not the, you ever buy a bag of chips, Chugs, and when you open them, you're like, all right, this 80% of this bag is air. That's not going to happen. Imagine Game Time. They're the place with the all-in price. When you open up a bag of chips, the chips are at the very, very top. But to me, I love this app because I am a procrastinator. I like to wait till the last minute, especially when I travel to a brand new city. And if you're like that, because let's face it, Vegas has a lot to offer. Download the Game Time app, $20 off with code RaidersChat, and maybe in a few years you can go out to Las Vegas and you can catch a Raiders game. You might even be able to catch now an Oakland or a Las Vegas A's game because now they're going to Las Vegas. All right, y'all, coming up here, why the Raiders could hire Jim Harbaugh. I have a bunch, and I mean a bunch of different reasons why I have him, and the first one is this. It's his relationship with the Raiders, and it's a great relationship from both sides. Harbaugh loves the silver and black. Mark Davis loves Jim Harbaugh. So his very first NFL job was in 2002, and he was a quarterbacks coach. And when you go back and you look at that 2002 coaching staff that the Raiders had, there's some really, really good names on it. He's got a great relationship with Mark Davis. They, at this time, still continually talk on a yearly basis, which, you know, you hear yearly basis. I mean, that's still a lot with how busy both of their lives are. And then the other thing is this. Al Davis loved Jim Harbaugh. Like, one of the reasons why Harbaugh ended up getting hired to the Raiders was because of Al. But then there was a famous quote out there at Davis just really hyping up Harbaugh, just saying, like, that he absolutely loves this guy. And that was one of the reasons why people thought that Mark Davis was going to hire him in the first place. Let's go to the next thing here. His relationship with Tom Brady. Harbaugh, Michigan guy. And he played quarterback in Michigan. Then you got Tom Brady, who also played quarterback at Michigan. The Michigan ties are so obvious in this one that it's not even funny. But then the extra tie is that there are multiple reports out there that Tom Brady might have some influence on who the Raiders decide to hire as their next head coach. I will just put these to bed because I've had multiple people ask me, Mitch, there's rumors out there that Bill Belichick could be going to a new team. Yes, you're right. That new team will not be the Las Vegas Raiders. And if it is, I am going to go nuts because Bill Belichick has been terrible as a general manager. He's done good as a head coach with Tom Brady, but when you look at a lot of the general manager decisions that Bill Belichick has had to make, they have been booty cheeks. And you know who I like to think I have a good relationship with, Chugs? The Noti Gang. These people always pull up, and these were the first 4 commenters on the video that I dropped today, November 16th, the time that I'm making this video. So shout out to Robert Jansen, shout out to Bing Bong, Cradle Kids, and then Jordan Payne. I see you. I appreciate the fact of all y'all turning on those noties. If you're like, Mitch, what the hell is the Noti Gang? The Noti Gang is when I drop a video, the people that take it upon themselves to try to be the very first people to comment. Believe it or not, when you comment early on a video, it helps me out a lot. It's a big way to say thank you. Let's go to the next one here. I want a coach that's got success. And he's got success in the NFL, and he's got success at the college football level. So however you want to spin it, when you got success, chances are I'm going to believe in you. And everywhere Jim Harbaugh has gone, he's done a hell of a job. His college head coaching record, 139 and 52. His NFL head coaching record, 49, 22, and 1. I will admit, his bowl record is 2-7. He's 0-2 in the college football playoffs. So a lot of people are like, Mitch, he can't win the big game. It's tough, yeah, and he lost to his brother in the Super Bowl. But in the playoffs, he's 5-3. And he does have a lot of great intangibles that you look for in a coach. Like, to me, Josh McDaniels was the exact opposite of what a player coach is. Antonio Pierce is a player's coach, right? Like, the total different sides of the spectrum. Jim Harbaugh's right in the middle. He can be a player coach, but he's also not afraid to put his foot down, which I do think is probably the best of both worlds type of thing. And Antonio Pierce can put his foot down too. He just doesn't have the resume that Harbaugh does. Let's go to the next reason here why they can bring him in. He has had a phenomenal track record with quarterbacks. Whether you look at it from a college standpoint, like, I know Andrew Luck was great, but he got Andrew Luck to go to Stanford. That's a big-time win. Colin Kaepernick. He made Colin Kaepernick look really, really freaking good. J.J. McCarthy right now. I'm not a biggest believer in him, but he's done a pretty good job with J.J. McCarthy. My point is, with the Raiders right now in their quarterback situation, I don't know if it's going to be Aiden O'Connell. Next year's draft class is going to be pretty talented, and maybe they decide to go with a brand new quarterback. My point is, whether it's been in the NFL or whether it's been in college, Harbaugh's done a good job with quarterbacks, and if you're planning on drafting a QB, you're going to need that. Even if you wanted to help Aiden O'Connell develop, I think Harbaugh would be a great guy to help Aiden O'Connell develop, because when you have the ability to coach, but then you can also sit there as a player and say, hey, do this, do that, don't do that, it can go a very long way. So let's ask this question here, because I love this one. If Harbaugh was the Raiders head coach in 2024, who would be the Raiders quarterback? So let's say we're sitting here, you hop into that time machine. It was just named that Harbaugh, head coach, Raiders. Who do you think is going to be the starting QB for the Silver and Black if that happens? Is it going to be Aiden O'Connell? Chugs just said J.J. McCarthy. I think I'd rather have Aiden O'Connell than J.J. McCarthy personally. Let me know down below what your answer is. And then here's the final one. He's built multiple programs, and he's built multiple programs in college, and he's built multiple programs in the NFL. The way that I look at the Raiders right now, it is a program that needs an identity. It is a program that needs to be built. Yes, the Raiders have a beautiful history, a wonderful history, but the last 20 years have been, let's keep it a buck, shit. They have not been good. And if you want to be able to find somebody that was able to take something, and I mean take nothing, and then turn it into a competent program, I mean, you got to be feeling pretty darn good about that. And I know a lot of people instantly think of maybe what he did in San Francisco or maybe what he did at Michigan. But, man, this goes all the way back to when he started coaching at San Diego in 2003, okay? They were 8-2 before Harbaugh. Still a good record. Well, then they're in 2004, 7-4. All right, so you're like, oh, Mitch, but he got worse. In 2005 and 2006, San Diego won their conference and proved to be the best football team in that conference. So then Harbaugh gets hired by Stanford. Stanford in 2006 is 1-11 before Harbaugh. Then in 2007, improvement, 4-8, 5-7, 8-5. Final year with Andrew Luck, 12-1. So in a short amount of time, Harbaugh was able to take a really bad San Diego program, and let's be real, what the hell is San Diego? Turn them into a decent one.
But, Mitch, that's college. There's no way you could do that in the pros.
Oh, Jeremy, I'm glad you said it, because in 2010, with the San Francisco 49ers before Harbaugh, 6-10. After Harbaugh, 13-3, 11-4, 12-4, and then sure they went 8-8, and they made a trip to the Super Bowl. My point is, when a guy has as much success as what Harbaugh has with quarterbacks, flipping programs, I mean, it's just at every level. And then he goes back to college football, and the year before he went to Michigan, Michigan was 5-7. And don't get me wrong, Michigan had a few years in there where they were good, they weren't great. 10-3, 10-3, 8-5, 10-3, 9-4, COVID year 2-4. So COVID year was weird. After COVID, though, Michigan has been arguably a top, I don't even think it's arguably, they've been a top 4 college football program. They have beaten Ohio State. They have made it to the college football playoffs, and they are undefeated as it stands right now. And shit, I really think that if they had Harbaugh, man, I really wonder how they would compete against an Ohio State, how they would compete against a team like Georgia. But Harbaugh's done it at every single level, and those are the 5 reasons why I think that they could hire him, even if Antonio Pierce is great, even if the Raiders do their thing at the back half of the season, because Tom Brady relationship, Mark Davis relationship, his relationship with Al Davis, and, I mean, let's just keep it real, the resume of Jim Harbaugh, it's really hard to turn down. So, here's how I'm going to end it, okay? The reason why the Raiders might not hire Jim Harbaugh is because players would want Antonio Pierce. You got a guy like Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, and they go, hey, with all due respect, Mark, this is the guy we want. That's going to be a tough one to turn down. The other reason is money because, yeah, I know I said up here on the show, and we have jokes like, people are like, oh, Mark Davis is poor. Mark Davis isn't poor. Nope, nobody's poor that owns an NFL team. However, right now, you are paying John Gruden, Josh McDaniels, Mike Mayock, Dave Ziegler, Mick Lombardi. You're essentially paying them $80 million over the next 4 years to not coach. I think it's just Gruden. It's just Gruden and McDaniels. You're paying them $80 million over the next 4 years to not coach. So maybe you decide to go a cheaper route because Antonio Pierce, I can promise you this, is going to be way, way cheaper than Jim Harbaugh. All right, y'all, if you want to be able to follow me on social media, you can hit me up on IG. You can hit me up on Twitter. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. I appreciate all of y'all who always tune in. And I want you guys, I'll know this. If you've made it this far in the video, if you spam Ventrack, because I've been waiting to rock this jersey for a while, if you spam Ventrack, I'll know that you made it to the very, very end of today's show.